Welcome to another episode of Not for the Weak Minded. Facelife is back. Pareidolia. Well, what do you see in these photos? If it's faces, you suffer from pareidolia. It's not a sign of madness, but a well-wired brain. Imagine that. So, okay, pareidolia. This subject is interesting, and I don't think we've ever been told the truth, to be honest. And so, I'm just saying that obviously seeing faces and things, you see someone's put a one-eye symbolism in the potato as a joke, you know. Yeah, that's clearly, eyes, mouth, hair, right? That's clear. Eye, nose, mouth, ear. But that's not me making it up. That's literally there, and I'm seeing it. You can see that that's a face. Again, the eyes, nose, and a mouth. And this one's they've gone with the elongated head, two eyes, and a mouth, right? Here. But do you see faces anywhere else? No. Eye, mouth, perhaps. Again. Yeah, eye, nose, mouth. Where's the mouth in this one? The couch itself, I suppose. I mean, come on. This is not what I'm talking about, is it? I'm talking about literally analysing my hand and seeing an alien face in it from photography and using a microscope. I'm also saying that you can see this in the landscape and within images, within the landscape. So there you go. Look, this one, Jesus toast. Scary ass faces. Look, scary faces. You've got teeth on these ones. Lovely. Smile, eye, mouth. And yet what I'm saying is if you actually look closely, you'll see that there's interlinked faces. So this would be a face there. These different patches will be faces. Oh. Anyway. Cyclopsian type thing. That's the mouth, nose, eye. Two eyes and mouth. Again. Come on. So that's pareidolia, right? And you can do it with sounds. Next. This is why you see faces everywhere. This is funny. Yeah. For years it was seen as a sign of being neurotic, but recent studies show it's a sign of a well-wired brain. For me, it started with the title picture, which I immediately had to capture, scribble a bit, and send it to friends. They thought I was crazy. However, once I saw this one, I couldn't help but see faces everywhere. It's the one-eye symbolism put into the potato, right? Whether someone did that or it came out naturally, like that, right? Faces on the earth, because that's not on the moon. And the Viking rovers were most definitely found out to be on the Earth. Seems curiosity, anyway. Do you see the Virgin Mary in this grilled cheese sandwich? No, but I see an alien face. Eye there, nose, mouth. There's the head, right? That's what I see. Done that one before. Should we have a little read? Should read, really. Skip the Viking stuff. Read that, right. If you do find yourself staring at inanimate objects and find someone staring back at you, you're in good company. Leonardo da Vinci described seeing characters in natural markings on stone walls, events which he believed could help inspire his artworks. However, it's a phenomenon that has led to some interesting events. In 1956, the Bank of Canada had to change their banknotes after what appears to be a face of a grinning demon found in Queen Elizabeth's hair. Interesting. That's about the Viking rover, grilled sandwich. What? More recently, a grilled cheese sandwich which made history being the most expensive sandwich sold on eBay. The sandwich depicting what appears to be the Virgin Mary was purchased for $28,000. What? The winning bidder? GoldenPalace.com, which had confirmed it had purchased the sandwich, saying it had become a part of pop culture. Really? I see an alien face, that's all I see there. Clear mouth there, nose, two eyes. It's like that. I don't see anything else. You know, I don't know. No. See other alien faces. There's one there, eye there. Perhaps. I don't know. You'd have to look closer. What am I doing? I've done this. It is often hypothesized that people who are more religious or believe in the supernatural are more prone to pareidolia. See? Absolutely believe in the paranormal. I would say definitely done a turnaround, and one might say I'm religious, even though I'm not really. Professor Kang Lee from the University of Toronto, who carried out a study on facial pareidolia, explains. Most people think you have to be mentally abnormal to see these types of images, so individuals reporting this phenomenon are often ridiculed. She continued, but our findings suggest it's common for people to see non-existent features because human brains are uniquely wired to recognize faces, so that even when there's only a slight suggestion of facial features, the brain automatically interprets it as a face. Yeah, but it's a broom. This has no parallel to when I actually start looking at life itself. Right? More closely. As I said, it seems to be an internetwork of things connected. I'm just looking at the pictures, sorry. Neuroscientists studied pareidolia extensively and proposed several answers. In 2007 New York Times article, Dr. Doris Tsao had proposed that the brain favors seeing faces over patterns during one experiment which monitored the brain activity of macaque monkeys. As they were shown various images, cell after cell responded to faces, but not at all to other objects. But she also noted an anomaly: objects that aren't faces may have certain features that are weakly triggering these face cells. So you can see faces which aren't actually a face. That's what they're saying. Which is there, like the plug, all these examples. You could say, right, okay, I see a face, but it's not. What I'm trying to say with the Facelife stuff is that I see the face. Perhaps they've lied about life. Takeo Watanabe from Boston University suggests that pareidolia might have evolutionary roots In his search, he explored how the human brain becomes hypersensitive to stimuli it sees on a regular basis, as well as anything it could perceive as a threat. It, it's perhaps this sense of heightened awareness that makes us alert to other living creatures, whether human or animal. If you lived in primeval times, it would be good to be very sensitive to tigers. Okay. The tendency to detect faces in ambiguous visual information is perhaps highly adaptive given the supreme importance of faces in our social lives. The information we've received from faces is incredibly rich. Not only do we recognise another person, but also their mental state, health, and other factors. I like to see their face. It's just two eyes and a mouth, big mouth. Dr. Sheena of MIT says that whether the hair trigger response to faces is innate or learned, it represents a critical evolutionary adaptation, one that dwarfs side effects like being Beelzebub in a crumpled tissue. Yeah, this. I'm going to go into it. It's extremely beneficial for the brain to become good at the task of face recognition and not to be very strict in its inclusion criteria. The cost of missing a face is higher than the cost of declaring a non-face to be a face. And clearly you can see they've used the same example. A Nox on a moon, right? Straight out of The Mummy. They've lied to you. There are certain things in this world that we do not understand. We're only now coming to the understanding it because we're looking into the unseen, the paranormal. Like this said, it favours people that have a tendency to be more open-minded into the paranormal. And I've been studying it for a very long time. Seeing faces in trees correlates to creativity, and cognitive scientists are taking an interest. 2020. Saw this the other day. Faces. Let's say it might look like a bird and it's a beak, right? But I see a face there. Eye, mouth. It goes like that, right? So there are moments in the history of science that become fables about sudden insight, simple storybook scenes like Archimedes in the bath, Newton under the apple tree, or Einstein in the patent office. All these people are evil. They work for evil. They're malevolent forces. Cognitive psychology has the makings of another one in the hobby photography of Ronald Sinek, 63, who walks the woods of eastern Ontario collecting evidence for the wild truth that human minds project into the natural world. Sinek sees faces in things, trees mainly, ghostly apparitions of eyes and mouths, of knots of damaged bark, or the stains of time on decomposing wood. He's not a scientist, but he is doing real field work collecting these unusual stimuli which are being used in academic laboratories around the world in studies of pareidolia, the false recognition of patterns but of all meaning in nature. You get my drift? That I may have stumbled upon actually the meaning of life, it's the secret of life itself, right? These faces. And that relates to all the other stuff that you have to learn about, the frequency-based reality and all the other stuff, aliens and a world underneath another world, under the sea of another world. It's just it's crazy. Time of the Titans, Time of the Giants, because that cloud you just saw is a Titan. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. He is not a scientist, I read that. But he's doing real field work by collecting these for the academic laboratories. False recognition of patterns or meanings in nature. Right, okay, I was there. At first, this was because of Sinek's determined belief that these illusory faces were of value to science and should be brought to the widest possible attention. Eventually, it was because scientists realised he was right. Eye there, mouth. Bit crumpled nose. Right? Jessica Tolbert, for example, a scientist at the US National Institute of Mental Health, is interested in the importance of exaggerated expressions, why illusory faces tend to be expressing intense emotion. Oh, we have to talk about what happened in the past in this place. I don't know, this is very deep stuff, and I don't think it's for this video. Really. So, not in its entirety. Catherine Mondlark of Brook University in Ontario studies normal face perception, recognition of individual faces, and how it changes across the human lifespan. Other research using Synapse images to test and explain the propensity to facial pareidolia in people with dementia, motor neuron disease, and schizophrenia. More fundamentally, as University of Toronto facial processing expert Kang Lee puts it, Synapse images show that the world we see is not entirely determined by what is out there. On the contrary, much of what we see or think we see is constructed through our brain. So it's either these things are real and I'm seeing them, or I want to see reality where all these different alien faces are connected together, and that all the other random people that have watched my Facelife theory wanted to see the same. I don't think so. Seeing a face in tree bark is an extreme illustration of how our brain actively represents the world, he says. And yet I showed you that bottom of the tree that's been blown down in Ireland, and there was no things going into the ground, and the archaeologists actually noted that there was faces in the tree stump in its base. You know, it's got to make you question, man, these things, for sure. Do you see it? Eye there, nose. But if we look closely, there'll be all different faces connected to each other. And it goes in, and it's like it just goes into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's insane. It is of diverse scientific interest. A paper published just this week, for example, showed the propensity to pareidolia correlates with creativity. Mondlark knows the power of these serendipitous arrangements of eyes and nose. She has done experiments with newborns showing that the very simplest stylized face is enough to grab their attention. For adults, this instinct has become irresistible. You cannot see it, Mondlark says. From the minute we are born, humans have a huge sensitivity to anything that might be face-like. Seeing faces in things is not a bug in human cognition, it is a feature. Sinek, who lives in Brookville, Ontario, started doing this after he was injured in an accident and decided to become a nature photographer. So he started walking deep into woods and farmlands familiar to him from childhood. Eye, side of the head, nose, mouth, ear. It's out of proportion, obviously. It's not like anatomically correct or whatever. I really had no idea, he says. I was just looking for something that was totally different. Some faces he noticed right away, others only after ripping away some old bark. First general principle he noted was that the faces all seemed to come from injury or age. The wizardly one in a knot of cedar is in a stump that is probably 100 years old. The baboon is on a dead tree near where he has a cottage in the River Lakes. And I'll challenge that theory, and I'll say all trees have faces on them. Finding faces in the woods is like kind of fishing. No, it's literally easy. If you get a microscope, you'll see it's the same. It's got faces inside the face, and they're all interconnected as one. Anyway, special to the brain. surprising, baffling problem. Recalls the earliest philosophical wanderings about the eye, whether it cast some illuminating fire onto the world or simply took it in. Well, according to David Icke, we decode our reality, right? Like a computer game would. I'm not so sure about that myself. I mean, reality just is. A key insight of modern psychology is how the brain creates faces out of the world, illuminating them in the mind. Illuminating them for the mind. Yeah. Copernican bullshit. La-di-la. What else is there? Specialized recognized faces for blindness. 2017, scientists in Japan, Austria and US reported that simply by stimulating this area with an electrode, a young man with epilepsy who had many electrodes in his brain to control seizures like a cardiac pacemaker, they could make him see faces in things such as a soccer ball and a box. They could induce facial pareidolia. This is not an hallucination. The face did not obscure what was behind it in the man's visual field. It simply emerged from what he was seeing. As the anonymous subject described it, just for the very second I saw an eye and a mouth. How do I explain this? I am just imagining things. Can I do it again? Okay, just a thought. I see a face. Lee at U of T says people can cultivate this faculty, get better at it by practice, like Seneca. He used the analogy of a walk home at night when higher order processes like vigilance can make a person prone to seeing things in the shadows that are not really there. If you try to look, you tend to find. Pareidolia, like Seneca tried tree people, show how much we are seeing the world with the help of higher order cognitive processes. Lee says they eliminate faces that are not even there until by looking we put them there. Isn't that fascinating? Don't know why I do that if I'm going to the next page. University of Tasmania, and this is a paper on it in 2017. I'll leave all the links in the description, and we'll just go through again. This is all the papers on it and some their findings. It's quite interesting, that, isn't it? That creativity, cognitivity, a wired brain, a very well wired brain. I'm quite happy with that. I don't think that's a negative thing. Knowing Neurons, a creative neuroscience education website by young neuroscientists. And again, there's information on here. The doors of perception that you might like to read about certain things. Do the brain. And this one, this is the evolutionary reason we often see human faces not on humans. I see alien faces in pretty much everything though, that's the thing. And I see human faces, of course, but I also see alien faces. And I'm sure this relates to consciousness and awareness and more input into my mind about the past and the things that are possible. And it goes into why evolutionary reasons, this is the case. But what if they're wrong? This is created pareidolia, where what I'm trying to show you is actually real. That everything's made up of these faces. Alien and human faces. Not that it's going to be believable for the masses anyway. Intact perception, but abnormal orientation towards face-like objects in young children with ASD. And they're using it to test people with autism. So I'll just read the abstract. There is ample behavioural evidence of diminished orientation towards faces, as well as the presence of face perception impairments in autism spectrum disorder. But the underlying mechanisms of these defects are still unclear. We used face-like object stimuli that have been shown to evoke pareidolia in typically developing individuals to test the effect of a global face-like configuration on orientation and perceptual processes in young children with ASD and age-matched TD controls. We show that TD children were more likely to look first towards upright face-like objects than children with ASD, showing that a globe face-like configuration elicit a strong orientation bias in TD children as compared to children with ASD. However, once they were looking at the stimuli, both groups spent more time exploring the upright face-like object, suggesting that both perceived it as a face. As results are in agreement with abnormal social orienting in ASD, possibly due to abnormal tuning of the subcortical pathway, leading to poor orienting and attention towards faces. Our results also indicate that young children with ASD can perceive a generic face holistically, such as a face-like objects, further demonstrating holistic processes of faces in ASD. What a mouthful. And there's the last one, and I'm sure there's more out there. There's plenty out there, studies on this stuff. But I just thought it was interesting to show you that there might be something to this. Pareidolia as additional approach to improving education and learning in neuroradiology, new cases and literal review. And this is basically how they use, as it says here in the abstract, how the academics are using this essentially to analyse cervical spine, neck and cognitive diseases. Alright. So I'm not crazy. And yeah, I do see faces. I see faces everywhere. Oh dear. Please share, like and subscribe.